I am still in the ranking mood, so today we are, let me grab them, we're ranking all of my ColourPop palettes. And it's funny because a year ago, I don't think I would have been able to do so because I had at that point, I think 3 ColourPop palettes, two that were like duping the vibe of the Patrick Tar palettes, where you have the powder shades and then 2 cream shades. And I had the Hogwarts palette. The other palette, like the 2 Patrick Tar dupe ones, I decluttered. They were horrible. The Hogwarts one was good, but I was kind of, like I burned myself because Colourpop is so hyped up everywhere in social media. And then I tried palettes and 2 of them were shit, one of them was a hit, and one of them was a special edition. So I assumed only special edition Colourpop palettes are really good. But then Black Friday last year came around and I took advantage of their sale. And I will for sure take advantage of their sale this year too, because that's crazy. I bought at that time a mystery box and I don't know, like 8 palettes or so. No, 5 palettes, something like that. I now have 9 ColourPop palettes to rank. Some I already decluttered that I bought last year. Some of them I just actually used like 2 months ago because they were like piling up in a pile of shame theme. But now I'm very confident to rank them. And before we head into the ranking, the lip of today is Lisa Eldridge Matte Lipstick Velvet. What are they called? The Velvet lipsticks. Yeah, the matte velvets in Velvet Muse. Lisa Eldridge is discontinuing a lot of specific shades, and I'm not sure if Velvet Muse is there too. If so, make sure you grab it. Let's start with palette number 9, and honestly, I'm thinking that after that ranking, I will declutter this. It's the It's a Mood palette. There is something about this 30 pan palette that is very, very pretty, but there is also something that is making me gag. The thing is, if I just look at the right side of the palette, I like it. I like the tones. I even like that little peak of goldy greens, but I hate this one. I hate this all tone and tone warm palette. So, you know what? When this video is online and you see it, this palette will not be in my collection anymore. I really have to declutter it. And by the way, for whatever reason, I hate the texture of this because it feels weird. No, It's a Mood, my least favorite Colourpop palette, and it's, in my opinion, so unloved in my collection that I don't even want to be bothered by it sitting in the shelf. At number 8, we have an internet favorite, and it's the Stone Cold Fox. I know that a lot of people love this palette because it came out at a time where cool tones were just not a thing. And Colourpop with the Stone Cold Fox, they just, I don't know, they just gave those people something they have been asking for in other brands, and Colourpop did an awesome job with this. I'm not saying that this palette is bad. Not at all. I think Stone Cold Fox is one of the most beautiful cool toned palettes in my collection, even when we are talking about more softer looks. It is quite a soft cool tone. You can go very dark. You have beautiful shimmers. None of these are pressed glitters. If this is something you don't like in the Colourpop range, then this is probably the one to go. But my main critique is it's all tone and tone. It's all very mid-toned. You do not have a lot of variation in the tones. Even with these darker ones, when you just look at everything else, it's all so mid that, yeah, it's beautiful, yes, but it's not sparking a level of joy that I actually get when I look at these other palettes. So at number 7, we have a very, very Loft Christmas palette. And this is so Loft that Colourpop re-released it last year. This is the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer palette. And can you guess why I love this palette? Yes, because it has a lot of red going on. It is a very, very warm, classic Christmas palette with greens and reds. And the looks that I've created with this palette were mind-blowingly beautiful. I love this palette. It's such a beautiful Christmas theme. It is so nice and neat with the 15 pans. I think it has the perfect size, and I have to admit, this has the perfect balance between the different level of depth. I love this. I even like the greens. It all makes sense. Some of these shades are a bit redundant, but at the end, you can all use them. So why is this not ranked higher? Well, you will see. At number 6, we have the Pretty Please palette. And when I open this palette, you'll be sitting there like, hello, you're drunk? You okay? Should we call somebody? Because Pretty Please is probably the most boring eyeshadow palette I can imagine. But first of all, Pretty Please technically only has one row of mattes. Then we have one row of beautiful intense shimmers. Then we have one row of very, very light, borderline pastel-y, but kind of still dark pastel-y mattes with these shimmers that make them blend easier. And then we have a row of Super Shock eyeshadows. Let me tell you, when the Black Friday is coming this year, I will probably not pick up any eyeshadow palette. I will buy Super Shocks. Like, I will build my cart probably a month prior because I want to have all the highlighters, all the eyeshadows. I want to depot all the Super Shock eyeshadows and put them in a Super Shock palette. I am obsessed with the Super Shock formulation, and if you counted how many times I now said Super Shock, put the answer down below. This is so boring, but because of these different finishes and textures in this palette, it gives me life, and I can always pull in something else from different palettes, mix and match. Honestly, it is a pretty, and I know it sounds weird, but it is also like a cool companion to Rudolph because you can kind of utilize these shades with any palette you own. Pretty Please was a recommendation I got from Angelica Ninquist on her channel because she kind of mentioned in a small sentence that this is the palette that has a row of Super Shock eyeshadows, and I immediately grabbed it when I ordered another palette that I'm going to talk about. At number 5, we have the Cloud 9 palette. This is a beautiful, cool toned, do I say cloud inspired? Not really, but it's dreamy, it's airy, and honestly, if you have Cloud 9, you don't need Stone Cold Fox. And I think vice versa too. I like, as you can see, the Cloud 9 palette much more than Stone Cold Fox, although the cool tone theming is in both. This palette has very, very special, dreamy, soft, kind of topper shades like this one here that shifts silvery blue. Then we have, what's it called? Make Dew. This shifts like peachy brown and purple. Here in this black you have glitter spikes again mixed throughout, but not the classical silver. You have like little holos that are purple and pink and silver. Look Up is such an intense silver. It's a pressed glitter, so some people don't like that. I have no problem with this. It's a beautiful eyeshadow palette. I really enjoy this. Cloud 9 was definitely a good one to get. At number 4, we have a palette that when this first launched, I wanted to buy this. Then it was sold out, but it was restocked for the Black Friday, the Troublemaker palette. I think this is quite popular. Honestly, so many palettes of Colourpop are getting a certain popularity at some point because Colourpop is just covering every single theme of makeup story or color story that you can think of. And Troublemaker is this more grungy, purpley vibe. It reminds me a bit of Natasha Denona's retro palette, but a tad bit different, a tad bit grungier even and darker. Such an interesting palette. I honestly have to admit that I haven't used this enough. And now that I see this, I really want to. But I'm still having my challenge to use every single eyeshadow pen in 2024 that I own. But I'm pretty sure that I fail miserably. Troublemaker, fully recommendation for this. Such a stunning five pen, no, it's a 12 pen palette. I don't know why I wanted to say 5 pen. And just the shade names like Villain Era, Cold Hearted, Messy, Kick Ass. They're just tickling the younger emo in me, actually. At number 3, we have a palette that if I wouldn't have watched Angelica Nyquist some time ago, I probably would have scrolled over this, because while I do like big palettes, the Colourpop 30 pans, they tend to not interest me. But Aurora Strike, y'all, this is the palette Angelica raved about so many times, and I totally understand this. This is such a beautiful Northern Lights inspired color story. It's winter, it's cold, it's kind of... Let me paint a picture. When I look at this palette, I see myself sitting in a sleigh that is where you have, like, you know, huskies in front of them, and you are riding through Norway. Everything is full of snow. The trees are still there, and you see the Northern Lights because it's 3 a.m. in the morning. This is the vibe. This is what I feel when I look at this palette, and I am more than happy that I bought this, because out of all the regular, constantly available, permanent line in Colourpop, this is my fave, because number 2 and my favorite palette are both limited edition palettes. So if you want to divide that ranking now into like regular Colourpop eyeshadow palettes, this is the best one. Now let's talk about my second favorite palette, and I don't think that this is a big surprise to you, but the Colourpop Back to Hogwarts eyeshadow palette is it. It is a piece of childhood that I'm holding here in my hands. The design, that it is like a book, the look inside, that everything is matching these houses. If I ever lose interest in makeup, I'm pretty sure that this is one of the palettes that I would keep and just display it, because it is so pretty. And my number 1, my favorite palette, the palette that just... If soothing and comfort were put into an eyeshadow palette... Can you see how I'm smiling? Do you see this face? I can't stop because... Oh! I cry, I know. It's so dumb that I cry over makeup, but... I feel so silly. The Twilight palette it is, guys. This is everything. Oh, am I about to get my period? Why am I like this today? The Twilight movies are so bad, but they are just giving me a level of comfort not even Harry Potter can reach. Not even Harry Potter can do this. I don't know how many times I watched these movies from the beginning to the end. How many lines I can speak. How many pieces of music that were done for the movies I can play on the piano. It is my ultimate comfort movie. It is everything I need. Sometimes when I have a stressful day, I just put on Twilight. Honestly, that's not even a joke. I need to learn for an exam, Twilight. I need to write a super important paper, Twilight. It's the comfort. And this palette catched the vibes. And everybody who is still constantly saying, oh my god, this is not Twilight, there's a rat missing. Fuck off, Karen. It's not. It is the Twilight movie. It's not the Twilight series. That I would agree. Beautiful. Everything in the collection. I bought the complete collection of Twilight and I love, aside from that oil, I don't have a purpose where to use this, but I love everything from the lip arts to the liners even. The Vampire Skin Super Shock highlighter is my favorite highlighter from Colourpop. This is so beautiful, so amazing. It nailed it so much. And this, I think, just hit the comfort button of a whole generation of people. If you still have the chance to get this and you are just as passionate about Twilight, or even half as passionate as me, you should get this, because this palette is everything I ever asked for when it comes to Twilight. Although I never asked for, but now I know that I probably did. And just as with the Hogwarts palette, it's one of those that I actually keep in its original packaging. Tell me please down below, how surprising was this ranking? How embarrassing was this ranking? Because I cry over makeup. I feel very silly, I'm sorry. I feel like one of those pick-me creators. But I will leave it in the video because it is kind of also charming, and it's also just stressing out my passion for makeup. And not gonna lie, it's not the first time that makeup made me cry. So, have you ever tried Colourpop? I mean, isn't 2024 there still people out there who never tried them? If so, let me know why. And if you have, what's your favorite palette? Please make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out any videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, I forgot the code word. If you do not want to say anything about Twilight, Colourpop, comment Twilight. But now, I'm heading out. That's it. Let's cut.